All right, everybody. Hello. Welcome back. So, in this video, we're going to take another look at the conference standings approaching the three quarter of the way mark through the season. So, most teams have played about 60 games out of an 82 game schedule. The trade deadline, as pointed out in most of my videos right now, just because of the time of year it is, the trade deadline is quickly approaching. That being said, I'd like to take a look at the eastern side of things now and just see where they're at. Maybe take a gander at what they could be looking for moving through that last 20 game stretch. There are some teams that are going to be looking to buy, some that are looking to sell, some who are just not going to change a thing. That's kind of the fun of it. And all we can do is speculate. Granted that this doesn't sound like this is going to be a massive trade deadline market. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see any huge names move. But, only time will tell, right? So we'll get right into it. This is a look at the Eastern Conference. As I pointed out in the Western Conference video, so I compile everything, I throw it up nice and easy, quick like this, and I use my OBS. Now, immediately when I look at the standings, the first thing that jumps out at me is the top of each division isn't as much of a runaway as it is in the West, where Colorado and Calgary have like almost 10-point leads. I think in Colorado's instance, it is a 10-point lead on second place, so sitting pretty comfortably. That being said, you look at the top of the Atlantic Division, you have Florida, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. At the top of the Metro, you have Carolina, Pittsburgh, and the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers have been absolutely spoiled this year with the play of Igor Shesterkin. He is on a historic Dominik Hasek-like season right now. You couldn't ask for more from a goaltender. That's reflective of the fact that you notice that they don't have a whole ton of scoring, but they're still sitting with a 26 goal differential. That's not too bad. But what stands out, like I said, first and foremost, is that Florida, Tampa, Toronto, they're all within a 5-point spread for the division itself. Toronto's play has been slipping as of late. It doesn't show as much in their last 10 as of the time that this video is recorded. As of their last 10, they're 6-3-1, and they're on a 2-win streak right now. So that's not too bad. I would think that they'd be pretty happy with that. If they maintained that pace, there's absolutely no way they wouldn't make the playoffs at this point. But there is a noticeable issue with the results that they're producing. Not because they're in poor standing, because very clearly, if you're third in the division, you're still in your playoff spot. But if they don't find a way to resolve that, they could very well get caught by Boston. Boston is 4 points behind, but Boston's one of those teams that they're kind of like Pittsburgh. You can't really count them out until they're out. That's a mistake that you don't want to make, especially given that core. Marchand, as much as people don't like him, he is absolutely an effective player. He is a 100-point getter in a single season, so he's got the talent. You've got the sniping abilities of David Pastrnak, the two-way abilities of Patrice Bergeron. That rounds up your first line. I know Jake DeBrusk is looking at getting moved. He hasn't moved as of this point, but Charlie McAvoy has absolutely stepped in and shown that he is that number one defenseman that everyone was hoping he would be when Chara leaves. Jeremy Swayman, their new goaltender, there's a lot to be excited about there. He's showing that he is NHL ready. I don't think you'd be able to lean on him, and if he saw much playoff time, it would be riding the hot hand, but I don't think that would be built on a resume of confidence. It would just be that's what's working right now. Detroit, a minus 53 goal differential, and that's starting out at your outside or the bottom half of your division. Um, them, Buffalo, Ottawa, Montreal, like these are teams that are so far out and they have no chance of making it back in. Like fourth in the division is more than 20 points behind. It's basically going to be the top four of the Atlantic, maybe the top three depending on how the Metro rounds out. Um, Not much to say there. Detroit, Buffalo, Ottawa, Montreal. They're basically going to be looking at the next season. Um, Montreal definitely has noticed that Carey Price isn't around, as much as you would expect. For my money, Carey Price is still absolutely a top 10 goaltender. That number one status that he had at one point, those are long gone now. But you know, he is still the indefinite starter in Montreal, and him not being around, the absence of Shea Weber has been very noticeable. There's a couple really core pieces that are not there from the playoff run last season, and ouch, like this one hurts, and they don't even have a game in hand on anybody in the division. So that's all I can say is better luck next year. The Metro Division. Carolina, they're firing on all cylinders. They've got a 58 goal differential with 200 goals for. So that tells you that they're scoring a lot and they're getting a lot of good goaltending, especially out of uh, what's his name, Freddie Anderson. Why Toronto let him just go? I that's just the way she works. I would think that if anything, they would have liked to have that back in Toronto, but with Eric Shalgren showing that he can be a good fringe goaltender, gets the odd start here and there so that Jack Campbell can get some rest. Um, I feel for the kid though. That's a lot of pressure walking in with that kind of a start. You want your career to start good and start hot, but get ready for all the pressure, and especially in a market that seems to take over pretty readily. Pittsburgh at 83 points, New York Rangers at 81. So I would think that it's either going to be, actually no, I would think Boston, Washington, they sit fourth in each. I could see it going 4-4 between the divisions. Um, Columbus is too far back at this point, and yeah, Detroit. So you're looking at four teams from each division. That's the thing, is the Pacific's a little bit weaker of a division, but there's a lot more parity in there. The Central, not as much parity, but it still stays close. When you get over to the Eastern Conference, it's split. Like you got your top, your bottom, leave or be. Um, Buffalo shows signs of potentially starting to get life next year, but this isn't it. I would think Ottawa would be poised to start improving next year as well. Detroit, I would think Steve Eiserman's got a couple big moves that he would want to take care of in the off season, um, but at this point, I would think Detroit's on the rebound. After Zetterberg and Datsuk and Lidstrom and all them were, on to retirement and everything, Detroit has not been the same as we've historically known them in recent past. But there's no reason they can't start to get going again. Dylan Larkin's got all the makings of a leader and what you want to see in a captain. You got that rookie Moritz Seider. He's he is something, and he's going to have a nice, healthy career, I would imagine. Sophomore jinx, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that with him next season, but he's showing a strong start for a rookie, that's for sure. Um, I don't know about quite Calder, but I wouldn't be upset if he got it. Um, Columbus is, yeah, they're in better luck next year territory. Not having Seth Jones on the blue line has been noticeable. Um, I I don't know how much more improved their differential would be at this point, because he has been more known to be an offensive defenseman. Um, but much like Edmonton, Columbus is looking at a goaltending solution at this point. Merzlikins is a good goaltender, but he can't play 80 games for you. That's not the way any of this works anymore. Um, the New York Islanders, they Lou Lamoriello, Lou Lamoriello is not going anywhere. He will still be making the decisions come next year. I feel like he's probably gonna have a significant retool in mind. I would think at the very least, shore up his middle six, his top four defensemen, maybe swap out a goaltender if he can. It all just depends on what the market's going to have available to him. But most of the core of that team is still there. That's a hard working team. That's why I'm a little bit surprised that the Islanders are this far back, because what's gotten them the success hasn't been the finesse, the high flying. Although they were shown those flashes of brilliance through the season, they were a hard working team. Like they were in there. They were winning the foot races, the board battles, and that's not getting them anywhere this year. New Jersey, they're kind of starting to get into Buffalo territory. Um, that core is starting to get get a little bit younger, get revitalized. I would say you're probably one or two more seasons out from them getting back into the competitive side. Granted that the Metro Division is so hard to play in to begin with, but as Pittsburgh and Washington start to fall off a little bit as their core ages and they start to work on reworking um, their system again, um, that's when I could see the Islanders and the Devils creeping back in and getting into those competitive spots while they're doing that. Pittsburgh, I don't think they'll be heavily impacted. Um, it seems like for the last 13, 14 years, like they've always been competitive. They have their struggles throughout parts of the season, and then it's playoff Pittsburgh. Um, with Gino and Crosby, Tristan Jarry in net, Chris Letang as a veteran defenseman, one who has had trouble staying on the ice, but when he is on the ice, a very effective defenseman. Um, as long as they don't all crash out at the same time, all retire, whatever the case may be. As long as there's time to make these adjustments, swap one part for another part for another. I could see Pittsburgh still staying right in the middle of things. Pittsburgh would be looking at this point um, at looking at who's going to be taking over that core responsibility now. Um, you know, that that team, the core of Pittsburgh, has a ton of mileage on it. That adds up. Like especially they've gone on a couple deep runs. They've won a couple Stanley Cups now. That's a lot of games to be playing beyond the regular season. That teams that don't make the playoffs every year don't have to worry about with that mileage. And Philadelphia, you know, I, I I'm not entirely surprised where they are. I was hoping they'd have a better fate than they have. But once Voracek was out, Gostisbehere was out, um, Wayne Simmons was gone. Like you really started to notice the impact that it's not that it isn't a team with talent. It's just they seem like they're off, and I can't watch full games with them, just based on my situation. But what I do catch, the highlights, the condensed games, they seem like they're off. Like they're not sure what the right hand and the left hand is doing. I really hope they get that figured out, because that's a team that, much like Montreal, when they make the playoffs, it seems to be just that little bit more exciting. Um, I would think the Eastern Conference is pretty straightforward now. I don't see Tampa shoring up a whole lot. I could see Florida going and getting a middle six forward. I don't think they have any desire to touch anything else. Boston, I don't know. I could see them moving a couple fringe pieces, but keeping the bulk of the core together. Toronto, I don't know what they would do. It's been nothing short of a miracle for Kyle Dubas to keep that team under the cap. Having Jake Muzzin out on LTIR doesn't hurt, but he will have to come back eventually. Um, I'm not sure. I haven't kept up on that situation, so I don't know if he's slated before or after the playoffs start. Um, but if he all of a sudden came back ready for the playoffs, and well, then we'd have another Tampa Bay situation all over again, with team being significantly over the cap walking into the playoffs, um, and nobody wants that. The Rangers, they're going to want to look at. I would think that they would want to look more at getting their top end scoring going, um, because although they've got a good differential, they are. Yeah, with the exception of Boston right now, they're the lowest team in the conference for goals for walking into the playoffs. A defensive strategy can work, but that's not really what we're seeing with them. We're seeing world-class goaltending, and in the playoffs, you can't try and rely on that. It's just something that's got to happen. So I would think that getting that scoring up a little bit in the last 20 games of the season is probably the end result for them. But they should be happy with the system, no matter which way you slice it. It's working at 38, 18, and 5. That's nothing to scoff at. As it stands, though, they are currently the only team that's not six wins in their last 10. So they're riding they're riding a perfect 5-5-0. So that means you're kind of breaking middle. I don't see them being in any danger of falling out of the playoffs. But if you're riding break even walking into the playoffs, that for my money, that feels like that's limping. That's not carrying momentum in. So they've got to figure out a way to get a positive record going, where it's 6-7 game wins in their last 10. I would think if they can end off the season, say 7-2-1 in their last 10, as long as they haven't lost the last game of the season, they would be walking into good momentum. But that's my thought. So I'd like to know what you guys think. As always, just drop in a comment. Let me know what player you think could go to which team, and we'll chat about that down in the comments. If you did like the video, please drop a like. If you would like to see more videos, just drop a subscribe and turn on the notification to catch when I'm dropping these videos. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get them going a little bit more regularly now. I'm aiming for trying to get one video a day of something at least, but we'll see how things go there. If you have any ideas of videos that you guys would like to see moving forward, drop those as well. I guess we could go and move back over to here. There we go. So yeah, this is always fun, and over the next week or so, I'll see if I can come up with a couple ideas that are a little bit on topic with what's been going on, and we'll go from there. So until we meet up again, I thank you all for coming in and supporting, and and commenting where you guys do, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, thank you and all the best.